This is the Hustlers Podcast, featuring Brian Ross, Julien Meyer, Artie Stokey, and Serg Albino.
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Hustlers. This is Season 1, Episode 8, also known as the Season 1 finale, if you've been watching the show for some time here. And happy to have the full cast and crew with us today, Brian, Serg, Artie, and myself. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Right.
Yup, it's a Friday.
Awesome. It is a Friday. Early, nonetheless, 5:40 in the morning, but we are very happy to be here with you on this last episode for the season. We're really excited. This is a huge milestone for us, and if you've been with us since the beginning, we want to send a special thank you as we spend this finale episode for season 1 with you. So let's get right into today's show, what you can expect from the show, because it's going to be a little bit of a different format. We will do, in traditional Hustlers fashion, the Hustlers Update, where we each give you a quick, brief update, what's going on in our life and our businesses. Then we're going to do something different. Instead of doing our one-word topic theme, which we leave open for discussion and kind of use examples, what we're going to do is we're going to go back through all 7 of the episodes from this season and just talk about some of our favorite moments and, maybe some things that we didn't get to say in the 45 minutes that we spent with you on those episodes. So we'll go through that. And then finally, in the second half of the show, we'll wrap up with a very high-level, I guess is what I'm going to call it, overview as to what we would like to see coming out of next season, thanks to some of the comments that you have sent us, some of the early feedback that we've gotten, and just some basic things that we've noticed throughout the filming of this first season. So with that in mind, guys, I want to jump right into the Hustlers Update, and let's get just a quick 2 minutes. What's going on? How's the business? How's life? And Brian, you are first up on my list here today. So what's going on?
Morning, guys. How's everybody doing?
Phenomenal.
Right, awesome. So, I had a great week, and I'm actually going out of town this afternoon to get prepped for a workshop. We've got I think I started talking about it, pivoted a little bit. I'm getting more into federal and state markets. So I've got a workshop coming up in September at the brand new VA hospital out in Lake Nunn. So I'm excited about that. I got to get badging and all that, and started doing some things with a little bit of finance on the side, which I'm excited about, and also to do more research for the group of us for online business. So all in all, things are going really good. I'm actually going to be helping Artie next week a little bit too, because he'll talk about that going forward, because he's got an exciting week out at UCF. So. Doing good. I'm excited about what's to come.
Awesome. Happy to hear it. Sounds like good stuff, and definitely some stuff that we could hear about this episode. So, Serg, you are next on the roster. What's going on?
Oh, man, busy week for me. Hell week. Just got a bunch of stuff in the back burner that I just had to put in the front and square away. Also preparing for a couple of things going on next week. Georgia Environmental Conference is our very first conference for ecospheres. So we're excited to work with the folks there, meet and greet some of the prolific guys in the environmental cleanup space. And looking forward to that. Also looking forward to co-teaching at my alma mater starting next week. Going to be teaching a product concept development class out in Rollins College, Crummer Graduate School of Business, with Dr. Pete McAllendon, one of my mentors, and very, very excited for that, being able to kind of impart some little knowledge to the next generation of hustlers out there. So as far as IROC decontamination goes, we're squaring away with our manufacturing side, and we're preparing to launch the tech out in the West Coast, California, SoCal to be exact. So very exciting stuff for us right now.
Exciting stuff. I'm a big fan of SoCal myself. So good news. And Artie, last on the roster here today, but definitely not least, what is going on?
How's it going, guys? Same old here in the Domino's world. I'm very excited because students move in today. So it might even be hard for you guys to piss me off today because I'm pretty excited.
We gave you a run pre-show, didn't we?
Yeah, a little bit. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's all is good. No, because the students are coming back today, we just got a lot of planning. Probably have about 45, 50 employees now to try to handle it. Got a lot of newbies. Just I guess that's the whole process. So it's kind of exciting when you can hire a new staff and see that excitement of people that really care about their jobs and trying to improve already. So we're just trying to keep that momentum going, moving forward. And I actually had a big team meeting, and one of our goals in the first 3 weeks is to get a record week. So I've had that store about 6 years now at the campus location. So I'll let you keep you guys posted if we can actually achieve it.
Awesome. Happy to hear it. And I know that students coming back to campus is obviously a big thing for you. So I feel like I should be wishing you a Merry Christmas or something. But welcome back to your moneymakers.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And all right. So my quick update. What can I say? It's been a great week overall. I have been working on a number of different projects. My biggest project, Blurtbox, has gotten some new attention lately, and that's thanks to Artie, actually, who came in and gave me a new way of looking at how we're structuring one of the deals that we're working on there. So unfortunately, can't give too much detail just because of what we're going through with that, but still exciting stuff. Very happy with how that's going. Aside from that, been working on a few other projects, including my other podcast, Startup Financial News, which is passing the 2,000 listener mark. So very excited and happy about that. And then I have been doing a good deal of consulting work, which is just helping me, get back to a place where I can invest the right time and, effort into other projects because I can, be a little bit more balanced and stable financially. So overall, I think, for me personally, it's just been a week of getting all my ducks in a row. And very happy and excited to be here, obviously, because of this show is starting to take on a little bit more, of a following. And I'm very excited for it and see how we can develop it. So on that note, I want to, go ahead and kick off today's show by basically doing what we're going to call a brief recap of season 1. And what I'm going to do is for our audience members, I have all 7 episodes written down what the topic was. I'm going to read them off to you here, and then I'm going to pass it around to the hustlers, round robin style, like we like to do here on the show, to get their thoughts on season 1 and maybe specifically on an episode or two, what they thought, anything they might have left out this season. So without further ado, excuse me, the 7 episodes that we discussed on season 1 today, or on season 1, the last few months, have really been focused around what we call themes. And so these themes, we try and pick one word the week before, sometimes busy weeks, so we pick them that morning. But what we tried to do is say, listen, what's the most important thing, that we focused on this week, and how can we, bring that into relevancy? What does that mean? And so the 7 things we discussed, first episode was pressure. How do you deal as an entrepreneur, as a dreamer, as a hustler, with the added pressures that come on with that? Number 2, resources. How can you day in and day out, especially when you're all on your own in this game, find the resources that you need to be successful? And then once you find them, how to use them. Number 3, season 1, episode 3 was focused around negotiation and practice. And that was all about how can you become a better negotiator and what can practicing those skills and practicing other skills in general do for you. The 4th episode, one of my personal favorite, was on perspective and all about how if you change your perspective on situations in business and in life sometimes, you can really realize that what seems to be such a negative situation actually isn't that bad, and it might even have some positive sides, and that's all based on perspective. The 5th episode, one which is relatively difficult, I think, for each one of the hustlers, was focused around, well, ironically enough, focus. And focus is just something that's so important when you don't have that entity above you, that boss, that person telling you what to do day in and day out. And so I think that episode, we really, we were pretty vulnerable that episode, and I actually enjoyed watching that myself, guys. I think we all did a great job there. And then the last 2 episodes were focused around, episode 6 was on creativity, another one of my personal favorites. And then last week's episode was on collaboration and how you can utilize your network and, people that are in it now and people that could be in it in the future to really magnify and grow whatever the project is you're trying to work on, because when you use collaboration properly, 1 + 1 doesn't always equal 2. 1 + 1 can sometimes equal 3 thanks to synergies. So with that in mind, those are our 7 episodes from season 1. I have to say, guys, I'm pretty proud of each one of you. I think we did a great job of just, really focusing season 1 around some of the most important topics in our lives and for our audience. And so on that note, I want to throw it around round robin style. I'm going to switch up the order here. Serg, I'm going to start with you. And I just want to, see, what are your thoughts on season 1? What are your, anything? It's kind of free form. Let's just hear from you on season 1.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think season 1's a great start. We certainly learned a lot. We had to kind of rein in Artie quite a bit. He's just so creative at times that we just wanted to make sure that he was controlled.
Great amount of jokes.
That's the one thing that you'll never get less of in this program are the jokes, and that's what makes the hustlers the hustlers. Still waiting for my Domino's delivery, by the way. But season 1, to me, I think it was great because it gave us a lot of context on what to do. It made us think. It really, really made us think of what we do on a daily basis and actually segment it to the themes that we created, right? And then when we threw out those themes out there, it was kind of like, holy shit, focus, all right, let's talk about that. And then it was like a gut check, right? It's like, okay, well, this is what I'm saying. I'm actually doing that. I want to make sure that I'm kind of following my own, I am practicing what I'm preaching, right? So it made me, it put a gut check for me, and for each one of those episodes or for each one of those themes to making sure that I'm doing it as well, and that was a good thing. It was a good learning point.
Now, I want to ask you what your favorite episode was. Artie, don't worry, I will give you a chance to rebut, but real quick for our audience members, I just want to address one thing, which is what we're trying to do here with the show. And, as one of your hosts, I can say that this is just honestly more than anything, it's a project that comes from the heart. It's really centered around passion. We've mentioned it a couple times, but I mean, it's kind of, to get anybody to do anything where they have to change and alter their entire schedule on a Friday to waking up at 4:45 in the morning to be fresh and ready to go on camera 30 minutes later is, if it didn't come from the heart, this show wouldn't be possible. And so, on that note, I want to thank each and one of our cast members here because, it really is thanks to you guys getting up and being ready and being present that makes this show. But, again, just to address exactly what we're trying to do here with this show, we just found that, the more we came together as entrepreneurs, as hustlers, we found that our little group, we had these amazing conversations and we were able to kind of pour out some of these deep, dark, emotional, mental, physical struggles that we had experienced, and that having a community to share that with was so powerful. And so what we've always tried to do with the hustlers since the beginning is make this more about a community, make this about you guys, make this about the audience, make this about bringing people in, because again, the synergies that arise not only when the 4 of us are together, but when you participate in what we're doing, that's what the Hustlers is all about, and that's what it's going to continue to be about, and we'll talk about that in the second half of the show. But Serg, real quick, I want to ask you, out of episode 1, pressure, episode 2, resources, 3, negotiation and practice, 4, perspective, 5, focus, 6, creativity, and 7, collaboration. Just real quick, what was your personal favorite?
And
it can't be the one that me and you did alone.
No, I actually did like the resources quite a bit, because that really puts it in perspective. That if you're going to play this game, that's the one outside of heart and dedication, right? That is the one thing that you need to basically have day in and day out, or else you're just kind of out there navigating in the middle of the ocean with no bearings. Resources, to me, that's one of my favorite. The second close one was, of course, focus.
Love it. Love it. So, Artie, I promised I'd give you a chance to throw a jab at Serg and give us your 2 cents. So, same thing for you. I mean, what was your, feeling on season 1 overall? And then, after you give us kind of your summation, whatever it is you want to say, same thing. I want to ask you what your favorite episode was. So floor is yours.
All right. All this pressure. Wait, no. So honestly, no, the pressure itself, I think, don't be shaking your head at me. No. No, I think, it's hard to say at one thing, but as far as like the pressure side of it, I do think that when I was started to think about when you're just reading them all off, I look at the collaboration, and it's basically every one of it. Even in Serg's description of which his favorite one, he mentions a different one, which is perspective, talking about his about the resources, and that's just it. Is that I believe it's kind of a collaboration of all the subjects that we talked about, because you need almost every one of them in our daily lives to. I think you have to collaborate with other people to help you kind of keep moving forward, and you need the resources to, keep us learning and keep educating ourselves to get to that next level. And hearing someone else's perspective, is it half empty, half full? If you're in a negative light, like someone else can reflect a different perspective on it, and it kind of change your attitude and your perspective. And I think it all kind of gels together to make, the show itself. So I think we did a good job of picking the individual topics. But I know, originally when you started, you said take a jab at you guys, and I couldn't do that. But I do think that negotiations was missing Brian and I. So it's a little. I'm not going to say it's a little weaker than it could be, but
Oh God!
That's the table. But overall, no.
Oh my God!
Honestly,
you
you guys did a great job. I'm just teasing you. No,
it was a good episode, actually.
that was. It's I don't have a least favorite for sure. I think they were all good. And what's funny is I send it to my mom. Watches these all the time, and it's funny because she is so motivated. We'll be in a regular conversation about something, and then she'll pause for a second and say something else. And then she'll say that she learned that from us because she's been inspired by watching all of us. And she talks about you guys like she knows you. She'll be like, "Oh yeah, when Serg did this," and then she's just like talking, and she's never met you. It's really cute. So
yeah, but you know what? Look, and I want to take a second too. On that note, thank you to all the family members that tune in. I know that my parents are big followers of the show too, and so I think that's important. As much as we thank all of our audience members and friends, equally, to our family members, a special shout out to you guys and thank you for the support.
Yep. But as far as my favorite, I would say that it is perspective. And sometimes I think in this entrepreneur world, we have the ups and downs and peaks and valleys, and somehow you kind of got to do a gut check to get yourself out of those valleys. But I do think that when you can surround yourself with other entrepreneurs or guys like us that can just shed some light, you guys can have a different way of us looking at it. And I think when you can get that, it just changes your whole world in order to keep moving forward and motivating.
Couldn't agree more. And I think you mentioned something that's very important about this show, which is that I don't want to say it's dumb luck, but it is kind of dumb luck that we fell on every episode in the order that we did. I'm looking at it now and I'm just kind of humbled. I'm thanking God that it came out the way it did, because it did have a natural progression, and the season had a flow. But I mean, I'm comfortable enough to tell the audience now, guys, 90% of the time we wake up and it's like, all right, what are we talking about today? And, I don't even remember what we talked about last week. We can't repeat anything. So, this is a very genuine, real, raw show. And, I'm grateful to you guys for, the show coming out the way it did. And so with that, Brian, I want to turn the floor over to you, and basically the same thing. Thoughts on season 1, and then let's get into, your favorite episode.
All right. Well, season 1, I went back last night and watched through them. Season 1, sort of like what Serg was saying, that you kind of get a gut check. The fact that we get together and we go over these things and we talk about what we're going to talk about, there is a lot of pressure. Whether or not you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s. My pressure may be different than your pressure, Julien, but or Artie or Serg, but we all have this pressure, right? And pressures for me is my family, supporting a house and 2 daughters and dance and, my mom and all these other things. So yeah, the pressures and, people that work with me and all that. So the pressure's real. I thought we did a pretty good job. I think it was really cool how we went from bar top together, over a few beers, just really feeling like, wow, this is pretty cool that we've got this group that somehow came together, that we can talk openly. And for some of us, maybe for the first time, to where we can really just let things off that have been bothering us, that maybe we wouldn't talk to our wife or coworker for sure. So I think it was really interesting to see how we took it from that perspective where we're all together, and there's definitely great energy with that, and I think we should probably experiment with that again in the future. And then putting it this way, where we do it all from either, from our own separate places. As it relates to what my favorite show is, I actually did like the negotiation one that you and Serg did. It was pretty good. I have to agree though with, no, it was pretty good, but I have to agree with Artie though that my favorite was probably perspective, and that's probably because it hits home with me the most. I can be a lot of people think I've got my total act together. Shit, guys, I'm a hot mess. If it wasn't for being able to bounce ideas across with you guys and some other people, shit. Some days I'm unstoppable. Other days, I'm like eggshells, man. But anyways, it's great to have perspective because there's always somebody doing better than you, always somebody that's struggling more than you. So it's good to have perspective. It's great to have this group. And I think one of the things that you touched on, Julien, and I watched the intro video where you had sort of set up what the season's going to be like, and it sort of reminded me of what this journey is going to be about. And it's not just about us. It's about everyone out there, becoming part of this, sort of like a family, a group, whatever we want to call it, whatever it turns into. We want this to be pretty organic because we're winging it. Sometimes we get in here in the morning and we got it. We know exactly what we're going to do, and other times, I don't know. It just sort of happens, and so it's got some magic to it for sure. And so, I mean, that's my 2 cents this morning. Perspective is my favorite one.
Well, Brian, listen, I want to extend a genuine thank you for being so candid on what you just said, because I mean, that's honestly, Brian kind of just summed it up probably better than I could have in my own words, which is that, look, a lot of the times, what you may be seeing looks like we have our shit together, but a lot of, I've had mornings on here where I'm, batshit crazy and I feel like everything's going to fall apart. And then you go through this 1 hour session and I swear it's like, meeting with the world's best therapist. I've never, done actual therapy. And that's thanks to this show, because I can come here and I can bounce things off you guys. And what the audience doesn't see is how much we speak to each other outside of this realm. I mean, this is a real life group of friends. We just decided to put this on camera to bring other people in because we literally felt guilty sitting at the bar, the 4 of us saying, if we're struggling so much with this, maybe it's a good idea to start recording this stuff and putting it out there, because we might, save one person from, quitting the game, or even worse, in some cases, ending their life or something. And, I hate to be the one to bring that up, but that's how serious and intense emotionally this stuff can get. And so, we want to make sure that, our audience knows we're inviting you guys in to participate in this and to say, listen, it's okay to not be okay sometimes. And, God willing, maybe you just turn to this video real quick. And remember, look, Brian may look like he always has his shit together. He just told you. Not always. Serg, same thing. Artie, I know for a fact, same thing. And myself, definitely. And so I just want to make sure that the audience knows that, because I think that was the biggest thing that we wanted to communicate with season 1. I think when this whole idea came about, we basically said, listen, we don't know exactly what's going to come of this, but what we do know is that when the 4 of us get together and sit down and have conversations, yes, we can talk about this stuff with other people, and we do, with family members, with friends, with colleagues. But when we speak to our peers, regardless of the fact that we're in very different businesses, guys, we have somebody that's into restaurants, quick service restaurants. We have somebody that's into NASA projects. We have somebody that's into finance and venture capital. And then you have somebody that's into tech startups. Guys, we shouldn't be friends. We shouldn't be together. We shouldn't be able to, relate as much as we do. But that, to me, my favorite part about season 1, I did not expect this magic that comes out of this show. And I was just thinking about it myself. I was a little humbled just seeing, your 3 faces on the screen. I'm sitting here and going, wow. I mean, I think we, really struck a note, and we've shown that, even without the best video or audio quality, we've shown that if you're just, raw and the energy is there, that you can build a community around this. And, again, I want to thank the audience because, you guys are a motivation to keep going. And so that's been my favorite part about season 1 in general. It's just this, this magic that when the 4 of us come together in any way, shape, or form, I don't even know if we would need the video component. Just the audio sometimes is good. It does help me a lot personally, therapy-wise. And so I appreciate you guys, being here for that. So
yeah, it's been good. Good stuff.
And with that, my favorite episode, I'm going to say, honestly, topic-wise, perspective was probably my favorite. But I think it's tough. I'm between episode 1 and episode 7 because episode 1, if you go back and watch it, you can see kind of how green we are to this whole project. And, I've seen it like 4 or 5 times just because I like seeing how we've improved. But episode 7, I really felt like we kind of struck a chord and we took away little nuggets from each episode before that. And I was just really proud to see, how far it's come. And also episode 7, I got a lot of feedback from the audience and from new viewers. And so that's been, just humbling too. So I'm pretty excited with how that episode came out. But that being said, I'm looking at our time clock here. So we're entering the second half of today's show. And as promised, what I want to do with the second half of the show is basically a round robin discussion, basically for what we want to do with subsequent seasons of The Hustlers. We do plan on continuing this project indefinitely. We're very excited to continue it. And even if we weren't on camera, we would continue it because, again, we're just real life friends that happen to be in front of a video screen. But with that, I will go last as usual, and I am going to see who's on my list. Okay, Brian, let's start with you. Thoughts, ideas, things you want to see in season 2 based on our audience feedback, based on your own thoughts, and just in general.
Yeah, so it is interesting to watch episode 1. I thought it was really interesting to see us go from the dynamic of the 4 of us over beers at a bar talking about this and doing episode 1. I remembered why I think we decided to start it. It was over a conversation. I think it was Julien. You were talking about giving a speech out at the university, and it was one that you'd prepared something for, I think, if it's right, and then you come out and it's a totally different crowd or something like that. You're dressed. Oh my God! You're dressed like a bum. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean?
Look, I'll tell the 10-second version. That's a horror story. I don't know where you're going with this, but I'll tell the story real quick. I was at the time I was doing a lot of guest speaking because I was still a pretty big deal. I had donated a scholarship to the school and all that, and I got invited all the time. I'm a board member over there to speak, and invite me, and I'm thinking I'm going to this 30-person class, and so my speech for that day was my typical kind of 30-person class. It had cursing in it. I went in shorts. It was Florida. It was one of those speeches. And I show up, and it's a graduation. I had no clue this was a graduation. This was an entire class graduation ceremony, post-graduation ceremony, and I was the keynote speaker. And I was like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" And then, then I ended up. I didn't think I did so well, but I got a round of applause.
So what actually happened at the end, if I remember right, is whether or not you thought you did a good job. You dealt with the pressure and you showed up, but someone came up to you at the end, and this person wasn't in the best headspace, and said that something you had said really affected him, and he has a new way of looking at things. And I think you were a little nervous about the conversation, that he may have even been suicidal. We don't know. But then we got on this conversation about, hey, you know what? If just one person gets something from what we're doing, why hold it together just between the 4 of us over this bar top? and then I don't know, somehow we decided, well, let's video it, let's whatever, and that's sort of how we ended up here.
And we've always said, if this show helps one person, then, fuck it,
Yeah.
it's worth waking up at 4 a.m. to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of selfish for us. I mean, we get a lot out of it, obviously. It's kind of selfish to keep it together. So my hope, now that we've done this, because I had no idea how this would work out, my hope is that we continue to evolve, we continue to get better, and we have from episode 1 through 7 and today. And it is really cool that how this flowed now that we've looked back through this. And Artie had said too that if you take any of these out of the equation, you don't have the full solution. All of these topics that we touched on really help a person run a business, have a relationship, better themselves, and bettering yourselves, bettering other people. So my hope is that, we talked about sound and all that, and maybe we should do this more professionally, but really just coming here prepared and showing up, showing other people that how important that is. The sky's really the limit. The one great thing about the internet and YouTube is that there's just plenty of space out there for good content. And I've always been intrigued by the three of you guys and the perspective I get from you. So I think that we can go in a lot of different directions. We've got 4 different people with 4 different backgrounds and 4 different perspectives. And I'm pretty sure we're going to relate with a lot of different people. And as long as we can keep it fresh and exciting and be honest, which is how we all are, just authentic, I think it'll be valuable to people and valuable for us. So I'm kind of all over the place, but I just want it to continue to grow and evolve and become more part of our life, actually.
Yeah, and I think that as we continue to grow, obviously, just like any project, as time goes on, our talents improve. As time goes on, we get more feedback from you guys, the audience, and obviously, as entrepreneurs, we know this too. The budget grows, and when the budget grows, you can do different things. But I do want to, just highlight one thing before I pass it to Artie here. I have a very personal tie to this show, and there's a lot of motivation for me to do it because, I am a very big YouTube consumer. I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, and one of the things that's broken my heart in recent times is how entrepreneurship has become pop culture. It's kind of like when your favorite undiscovered band becomes popular. And the reason I say that is because it's great that there's more people involved and excited about entrepreneurship, but there's also a lot of bullshit, unfortunately, that comes with that. And I think that, part of the reason we did this show is because we were getting frustrated at some of the entrepreneurs maybe that, you could see that make videos or that put Instagram posts and, they flash money and they flash how exciting their lives are and all that kind of stuff. We just want to show, listen, it's not always like that. There's a lot of struggle and bullshit and dirt and crap that goes into this. And listen, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not be one of them because 99.9% of us are not one of them. And that's what the show has always been about.
You mean we don't have a 3-step process to making money?
God, I love having you guys here. So anyway, on that note, I'm
tuned in for the entire episode, for the entire season, and there's no 3-step process to making money.
We probably should have sold something on this show, but more seasons to come. So be on the lookout for shameless plugs, ladies and gentlemen. But that being said, Artie, passing it over to you. What do you hope to see out of subsequent seasons of The Hustlers?
All right. Well, I think to start with, I would like to see more of the same. I think we're doing I think we're onto something here. I do like the fact that we've talked from the start that we're going to start a business, and I think doing a little bit of research on it, I think it's going to be legit. I think we can really teach some people and ourselves of how that can develop. And like you said, hopefully that can develop into a bigger budget for us. We can kind of advance the show with the profits that we make from that business. So I'm excited to start that little venture with you guys on the next season. But more importantly, I had a visit yesterday with an entrepreneur friend that's not part of the Hustler group, but probably should be. But this person is going through a rough spot where, and I think that's some of the things we have to talk about, or I guess we do talk about, but how sometimes that when we're in this entrepreneur life, we portray that, or people assume that because we own our own businesses, that we're extremely successful and that we never have issues. And I think with life in general, how, you can just pick any business. So let's just pick Subway, for example. Subway at one time was selling, it would be like, to get a Subway franchise would be awesome because it was just so kick-ass of a company. And, as time passed, and I'm not trying to pick on Subway, I'm just saying, but the brand is kind of, in my eyes, it's dying more than it has in the past, and with upcoming other franchise groups that are out there. And so the problem is it's an ever-changing world out there. So what I'm trying to get at is this person is having a tough time. Just remember, guys, that if you're not succeeding, or in your eyes succeeding, it's not a failure. I mean, you're learning something along the way. And that, I don't know, I guess we'd have to dive a little deeper into that part of it. But I think maybe if we have guests on and kind of get their perspective on things, and maybe we can kind of enlighten them a little bit. But I felt like telling this person, just watch our show. We talk about all this stuff. Is that at the end of the day, I just want people to know that, we're going to have the peaks and valleys that we talked about. But if you do not succeed in a business, or if you have to sell it, or, you have to know the time to sell it, just know that that's not a failure. That's what's going to make you, and it's going to have some purpose in your life. So it's just how you look at it. So please don't look at it as a failure. Move forward, and as talented as we are, and as you're a true entrepreneur, you're going to make it work out.
And I think that's key. I think you highlighted something that I definitely want to see, from subsequent episodes too, which is the inclusion of guests as we, build and develop this platform. And I think that that's going to be a key piece to developing the show even further. So I can appreciate that perspective, and I totally agree with you. So on that note, Serg, I want to pass it on to you. Just again, what would you like to see from, season 2, from subsequent, episodes?
Yeah, same. I think more of the same. Definitely some guests to shake things up a bit. Get the different perspectives going on. I'd love to get a couple episodes where all of us are in the same room. I want to make that happen. I think there's some technologies out there right now that I'm looking into that allows for us to do that. Allows for the edits at least to happen much faster with that. But yeah, I'd love for us to kind of do a bar session at one point. That way you get that raspy, feel to it. So yeah, more of the same. I love watching all the episodes and kind of just reliving those 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning struggles, and conversation. It was really a good one. Yeah, and I think the idea is if we can make that difference in one person's life, I think we have done that. We just don't know about it, and if we were successful, it was an honor to do so. So,
yeah, absolutely, and what can I say on that whole thing? I couldn't agree more. If we change one person's life, we've done our job, all that kind of stuff. But, I think overall, Serg, you highlight an important piece, which is a good transition for what I want to talk about with my couple minutes here, which is that, I would like to see that as we continue this show, yes, we improve, and, maybe we change the format up a little bit. I'm a big proponent, a big fan of testing something out where all 4 of us in the same room. I know I have some access to studios in Orlando, New York, even one in Los Angeles that we could pop into and, record a few of these, and maybe that's something that we do. But I do want to say, even as I was reviewing the episodes and I was in that state of mind of, we should probably all 4 be in the same room and start filming something like that. There is something special. There is something very special about being here on a Friday morning at 5 a.m. that maybe it's just dumb luck, but there's a headspace that you're in, and there's something where it's before everything, but it's on the day you're supposed to be the laziest. And I don't know, don't you guys feel that? Like there's some magic that's happening like Friday at 5:15 in the morning? I don't know. I could be like conspiracy theorist, but I just want to ask each and every single one of you, is there not something that we've stumbled upon by dumb luck here?
Okay,
Yeah.
so real quick, I'm just going to start.
We're gonna go Brian, Serg, Artie.
Sorry, Serge, but
You good?
I wanted to start because I've been the biggest proponent of it's way too early to think straight. So we need to do this at night, right? But I've noticed that too. It's really interesting. It's we get up anyways, and some of us, if not all of us, meditate. And there is something that I've discovered over the last year or so about where you are in your headspace in the morning. And sometimes I think maybe even, at least for me, I get a little bit more vulnerable. I'll say something like, whoa, did I just say that? Did I just tell everybody I'm a hot mess? But in the morning you're reflecting. It's Friday, so you're looking back at your week. You've got the weekend coming. It is. I don't know. That's the cool thing about life, is that there are synergies. And dumb luck, maybe it's real. Maybe you go with the flow of things and try not to fix everything in your own specific way, and just sort of let things roll out. And I look back down here at the list of the episodes. We winged it. Is that the way you say it? We winged this, and they flow really nice. I mean, it's kind of a trip, right? So maybe that's how cool things begin. They just do, and we're authentic, and it's cool. So.
And Serg, thoughts on this Friday at 5:15 in the morning, thing?
Yeah, so technically, Friday is supposed to be the lazy day. It's the weekend eve, right? And I found that since we've done this, my Fridays have just been absolutely bang. I mean, it's you're up early in the morning. Everybody's still asleep. I get to see the sunrise. I get to meditate. It puts me in a good spot. It gets, I'm with my boys first thing in the morning and just putting that week's perspective. And then, if you're a little bit behind, you have 3 more, about 3 more hours to catch up, on that day because it's so dang early. So yeah, I think we've stumbled into something here, and it's kind of unique. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Same. Artie, thoughts on the 5:15? Well, actually, for you, let's be clear. It's more like 5:05.
All right. Well, whether it be the morning, whether we did morning or night, I mean, I think the time for me doesn't matter as much. I think what I like about it is the consistency. I like that we do it every Friday. It's kind of like part of our routine, and it does make you look forward to it. And it's one of those things where I like the camaraderie. At the beginning of the show, we're talking and kind of finding out what we're going to talk about that day, and just the laughing. I mean, it's one of those things where laughing's such a good. I think that's what helps us get in a good space. Just joking around, having a good time, and at the end of the day, I think we got some nuggets that come out of all the knowledge that we have as business people over the years. And I think people are going to get something out of that. So for me, I truly enjoy it. And like I've said before, I mean, whether this goes anywhere, I mean, I would like to help people along the way. But for selfish reasons, I think it's a great show. And I enjoy doing it. And hopefully for a long time to come.
Yeah. And so I think that, as we progress here and as we move forward, I just think that this is something that we should remember is kind of this magical hour that we get to spend together on a Friday morning, because, I think it's really easy to go into Friday and just say, fuck it, I'll just kind of get away with whatever I need to today and then move on. But I've had the same experience as Serg was saying, which is that, I wake up, honestly, most times Friday at 4:30 to get everything set up and to do the pre-show notes and to invite you guys to the link and all that. And I'm pissed. I mean, I am really just livid at 4:30 in the morning. I'm going, why the hell? I mean, who's the idiot that picked this time? Then I remember that I'm the idiot that picked this time, But afterwards, I mean, literally 5 minutes into the show, around 5:20, I feel like a completely different person. I feel alert, awake, and I realize that what we're doing here is getting our brain at like the freshest moment possible in the morning and going through each and every single thing, what these topics in a way that, not only are we sharing perspective, but we're getting a unique perspective because of the time and dedication it took to get up, Friday at 5 in the morning or whatever. So, and on that note, I'm going to, start wrapping things up here, drawing things to a point. But, one more time, a big thank you to each and every single one of you, Brian, Serg, and Artie, for making the commitment, to be here at Friday in the morning. I know this is a show, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, that we have tried to do really for almost, 12 to 18 months now. It's been a long time that we've really tried to get this thing going. Guys, I wish we could pop some champagne at 6:30 in the morning, because I'm really proud of us for putting a whole season out.
Yeah, it's been fun.
So
It's been a lot of fun.
On that note, quick things, I guess my quick notes for what I would like to see out of season 2, pretty much agree with each one of the hustlers. I think, how would I put it? Maybe experimentation is a good word of, where we can take this show. I'd like to play with a couple of different formats, definitely incorporate guests, start thinking about, how we could maybe add to the Hustlers brand, from chat rooms to getting the audience involved to maybe live streaming. So for me, it's really more around experimentation. And I happen to just be a big fan of video as a form of content. And I think that with the amount of attention that video is getting, that there's a lot of innovative ways that we can, start to use it and connect with our audience. So I'm very excited for what we can do with the show itself. So that's kind of what I want to see out of the show. And with that, on that note, I want to mention a couple things. Today's show, afterwards, the four of us, I believe, are going to be discussing some specifics as to, things that we want to see out of this show. So we're going to record that session. It's going to be kind of like a bloopers outtake session. But, if you're a fan, you want to see what's going on, be sure to tune into that. Even though this is technically the last episode of the season, that'll be a bonus for you. And then also, I want to mention that the four of us will be getting together relatively soon on what I'm going to call a Hustlers Retreat, just to figure out what season 2 is going to bring. So I need to mention that because we are going to go on hiatus here for a little bit. We're going to take a little break from the show, but we will be back stronger, better, bigger than before for season 2. And we definitely want you guys to stay tuned and stay with us because we're very excited to have you along on this journey with us. And so on that note, guys, we're coming up on the 6:30 a.m. mark here on the East Coast. I want to give each one of you a chance to say your last notes and wrap up season 1. So let's do a minute or so each, and we will go Artie, Serg, and Brian. I'm going down the list here. So Artie, last minute to wrap up season 1. This is exciting.
All right. As far as season 1, I think we've set out what our accomplishment was, is just to get through the season of 8 episodes. And I think the main thing that I've learned is just that you just got to execute. We can talk about doing the show, or we can talk about in anything in your life, just talk about doing something. But just when you just put your foot down and just give the extra effort of getting something accomplished. And once we kind of executed on it, all of a sudden the good things started happening, the flow and the camaraderie, and when someone else talks about a certain subject or something that they're doing, or if they're talking about resources, all of a sudden I've read, some of the books that you guys talked about on the show, and then that's put me in a better headspace and all those things. It's just a big learning process, man, all the way around. And I just hope everybody else is getting everything out of it that they can. And that's it on my side, but I love it.
Awesome. Hell yeah. Happy to have you here, Artie. And then Serg, closing thoughts for season 1?
Yeah, man. Season 1, honestly, we kind of give you an idea. We some friends of mine have started this book club. And our first book is on is Seneca on the shortness of life. Life is long if you know how to use it, right? And the first page I read on this basically said something in the context of that, life is kind of arduous and long if you have no purpose in it, right? And life is somewhat short if you have focus, if you have purpose. It just kind of goes by quickly. And that kind of just reminds me of the whole entire season 1. It went by so quickly,
So
and it was,
true.
we were driven, we had a purpose, and we just kind of just started hammering it. So that was a beautiful thing, and that's just final thoughts for me, man. Great book. You guys should read it. It's awesome.
Yeah,
I think we should start some kind of a book club because we mention books on here all the time. So maybe we'll start the Hustlers recommended reads or something as we build out the brand. But yeah, Serge, I could not agree more. I mean, I just realized it's been 2 months of filming this. Oh my God. I mean, I had no clue it's been 2 months. Very, crazy how quick that went by. So thanks for shedding light on that. And then, Brian, your turn for closing thoughts.
So, yeah, I mean, here's one thing I would say. Put my glasses back on. This is one thing I've known in my whole life. And I know when we decided to do this show, we did. We had a tough time getting together. We're all so busy. And when we finally made a decision to start, that's when everything happened. And that's what I want to tell everybody out there. That's the way life is. You put things off, and boy, life will get away from you, and you never get around to it. The other thing is you don't want to worry about what other people think. What are people going to think if we're up on YouTube, videoing our life? I mean, maybe that was some trepidation in myself or any of the others. Don't worry about that kind of stuff. As long as you're doing the right thing, you're being authentic, put yourself out there. Put yourself out there, because this is a really special time to be alive. It really is, and goes back to what I said before, what we've all agreed upon. If we can help one person just through our collaboration, then this is worth it. But I think just starting something, it becomes magical, and before we know it, we've got a whole season under our belt, and now we've grown, and hopefully some people have changed, have been touched and changed by that. Speaking of change, we have to be open to change, and maybe some experimentation, having guests on here. We all read a lot, whether or not we're reading or Audible or what have you. There's a lot of things that we can, a lot of new information we gather on a regular basis we can bring to the table as well. But I want to personally I want to thank each and every one of you guys. Serge, I've gotten to know you through the show. We got to hang out over beers, and I was always intrigued on your mind and your sense of humor, but it's been really cool to get to know you through these in-depth discussions early in the morning. So, Artie and I, we get together on a pretty regular basis, but really gotten a chance to collaborate with him, which has been fun. And you, Julien, you're an up-and-coming entrepreneur. A lot of opportunity for you in your future, and this is something we can do together, and it feels good. And I think all of us know that we should follow what feels good, and I think we're on to something. So I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about what this could turn into. I mean, I could daydream that this would be a job, right? Wouldn't it be cool to collaborate on a regular basis, have great guests on, and make a change in people's lives? So here's to the future of the show. But thanks, guys. I appreciate all of you guys coming together. It's been a big help for me as well. So
Yeah, and
that's
I think
it.
that's that kind of gets into my closing thoughts, which more than anything, my entire closing thoughts for season 1 are nothing more than a thank you. Just 2 words. Thank you to everybody, to my co-hosts, to Artie for keeping the tone light and for sharing his experiences with us, to Serge for always giving us a new perspective and, new thoughts on projects and ideas. And, to Brian for, giving us these insightful, comments and ways of, perceiving situations. And so, thank you to each and every single one of you guys. I want to thank everybody in the audience, whether or not you've commented or written us in. It doesn't matter if you've watched the show, if you've liked it. I mean, it's not like we have even, anywhere near the amount of, views or subscribers or whatever that, I guess the average YouTube channel or whatever has, but I don't think that matters to any of us. I think what matters is that, we're getting this out there, and that each one of you that watches this episode, helps us to grow it and share it with more people. And I think that that's the only thing that we really care about here. And, also just a big thank you to, everybody behind the scenes that we haven't seen, our families, wives, kids, everybody that's in the house when we're filming these and making a hell of a lot of noise for 5 a.m. And, it's been such a humbling experience. And I do a lot of projects every year. I do a ton of projects. I do a ton of video projects. I do a ton of audio projects. I do, all that stuff. But this one, it just really struck a chord. And, it's been a great experience. And I think that, my last insight piece of advice for season 1 touches on something Brian just said, which is that you're never truly free until the moment you stop caring about what anybody thinks about you. And, I think that that's what we've done on this show here. It was really tough for us to get it going. We've tried for, like I said, over a year to film this and do this, and different things have come up along the way. And, I want to make an announcement that I'm going to be releasing our real episode 1 from about a year ago. Guys, I still have that episode, so I'm going to be releasing that for our audience members during this hiatus season between seasons 1 and 2. And you guys can see how long and hard we've been working on this. So those are my thoughts. That's my closing words. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we want to officially wrap up episode 8 and thus wrap up season 1 of The Hustlers. We want to thank you, each and every single one of us, for you being here with us and sharing your time with us, taking time out of your day to watch this show. And we want you to know that you are a part of our Hustlers family, and you will continue to be a part of that family for a very long time, because this show is not going anywhere. We are not going anywhere, and we are always, always here for you, our audience members. So please be sure to connect with us in the off season, and we will see you all on season 2 of The Hustlers. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Hustlers Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to get the latest episodes.